It's the Generation Zen podcast, and we're back. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for sticking with the podcast, even despite this hiatus. I know it's been kind of like a little lack of content lately, but we've been busy. We've been doing stuff, but now we have all kinds of ideas, and we're ready to get things off underway here. And to start off that new wave of content, me and Jeremy and Sean of the show, we recorded a discussion all about the Game Awards, because the Game Awards, by the time we're recording this on December 12th, were just on Thursday. And there's a lot of discussion videos going about the Game Awards, of course, because it is, pretty big deal, and it is a highly viewed event. But we thought of many ways that the event could be improved, and we want to kind of get that information out to you guys, what we thought could be improved. And if Jeff Keighley, if you're listening to this, which would be amazing, I don't know why or how you would be, but if for some reason you are, this is just fair, constructive criticism on how we can improve the show going forward, because we love video games, man. We all love video games. We want them to be good, and the idea of a gaming awards show is awesome. And there are definitely things that we can do to take it in a step in the right direction to improve it, make it better. So without further ado, let's just jump right into discussion. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode, and enjoy the discussion on how to improve the Game Awards. All right, guys. So, Jeremy, Sean, the Game Awards, we're recording this December 12th, 2020. So, the Game Awards was only a few days ago. And I have a lot to say about the Game Awards. We have a whole list of stuff on how we need to improve the show, obviously. But just real quick to start this off, real quick thoughts, Jeremy, on the Game Awards. What did you think of this? Before we get into big detail.
I was like, how many words should I sum it up in? I'm thinking one bad, but that's. But I think we all kind of,
Yes. Sean, what about you?
I've never watched Game Awards before, and this
Probably
one, I didn't know what to expect, and it was interesting. Lots to say on it.
Yeah,
okay.
that's another way to put it for sure.
Right. So I guess, to kind of start this off here, right, is because this is Jeff Keighley's passion project, right? Jeff Keighley, he's always wanted to have like the Grammys, the Emmys, the ESPYs, whatever you want for video games. And I respect the hell out of him for wanting to do something like that. Like, believe me, it takes a lot of courage to want to do something and organize it. But the thing is, he's going about this, I think, in kind of the wrong way. And he's taking some steps in the right direction, but he's taking huge steps in the wrong direction in some ways. And we have like a running list here that we're going to hit as we discuss like the Game Awards and how it can be improved and stuff. And the first one to me is the obvious, right? And this is something I know you guys all have opinions on. And that's them bringing celebrities on, right? They're bringing these celebrities who have nothing to do with video games to talk about this stuff. And look, like Stephen A. Smith, okay, I like Stephen A. Smith, but he's got no business at the Game Awards announcing esports. He's not an esports commentator. Why are they doing this, guys? Like, why do you really think that they're bringing these celebrities on to like promote the gaming industry when they know nothing about it?
Well, my first thought is that they really want to try and appeal to a broader non-gaming audience, and that's why they bring these people in. But which I think kind of reflects something that Review Tech USA had tweeted.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't think it has that kind of effect. Like, if someone's a fan of, say, Brie Larson and enjoys her acting, that doesn't mean they're going to watch an entire award show that she happens to be featured in. Like, they might watch the one clip and then be like, all right, cool. At most, they might watch the one clip if they're not interested in gaming. Like, I am interested in gaming, and I have a hard time watching the entire Game Awards. So it's like I
Right.
really don't see it being this large appeal that I think they want it to be.
Mhm. It's interesting because it is funny too because when he was one of the first like guests to announce an award, and when he came on, he was like, "I know what you're thinking. Why am I here? This is just a shameless." And I'm like, "Yeah." I personally, I don't really mind the inclusion of celebrities. I what I don't like is the exclusion of content creators.
Yes.
So
Feel the same way.
if there was a mix, if there was a greater mix, I would have liked it a little better. But like when you have like the people from Karate Kid doing the fighting game one, it's like I get it. They're they come from like a fighting theme, but it
It's not
didn't
the
make too
same.
much. Yeah, it's not the same. Like unless like they play the games,
Yeah.
it's a little bit disingenuous.
And I think that with the amount of with the amount of influence that influencers have these days on the internet, the sheer size of these people's platforms and their how widespread they can get a message across, why would you not want to include them? Because they are your target audience. Like the gaming market is tailored to these influencers, not to Hollywood
Mhm.
celebrities. So if you included more gaming influencers, then you can sell so much more. Like for
Right.
example, honestly, just like I saw that in the doc that you highlighted Dream, Sean, and I'm just thinking like I'm just thinking like this man is selling a $50 water bottle with a smiley face on it. And I bet you people bought that thing because it's Dream. You know, like these people have such power to convince people to buy things. Why would you not want these people at your award show announcing these games and announcing these awards? People might actually care about the awards if someone they like announces them, you know?
Mhm.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing is like what Review Tech USA you were willing to. He tweeted, "Hollywood is not the game industry's pathway to mainstream like legitimacy," and it's just not, like you said, because the problem is Jeff Keighley for some reason thinks that if he gets all of these celebrities booked for his show, he's like super legitimate and like okay, like this is it, we've made it, you know. And I think RGT85, he tweeted this and I wrote this down. He said it best. He said whenever Jeff Keighley talks about a Hollywood person, his face lights up like a Christmas tree. When he talks about a game award, he deadpans. Don't believe me? Just watch the show. And he's 100% right, because every time Jeff Keighley throws it to a celebrity, he's so happy. He's like, yes, I got the celebrity. I got him on my show. And then he's talking about an award. He's like, oh, like, you know, I got to present an award now. Okay. And it shouldn't be that way. You know, it shouldn't be that way. And trust me, I know Jeff Keighley likes video games. He's been doing this for so long. He was at Game Trailers TV. He was at E3. Like, he knows his stuff. I think the problem now is like this is his passion project, and he doesn't do E3 anymore, at least not now. He said he might rejoin it in the future, but even before it was confirmed that E3 would be canceled in 2020, he quit. He didn't want to do it anymore. So I still know, despite that, Jeff Keighley like seriously enjoys video games. But the thing is, he's trying to make it too mainstream for Hollywood, and it's just not going to work. And he's just ignoring, like you alluded to, Jeremy, all these content creators who make the business. And you have guys who are just not included. Like, you know, people, Scott DeWaz puts out a video every week and it nearly gets 1 million views, right? Markiplier, Game Theory, Mr. Beast, anyone. I mean, I even put the Spawncast in there, even though they're not like big per se. They're pretty well known again with developers and stuff. Like, all you have to do is go down the list of like legitimate content creators, from YouTubers to streamers, and have them do something to present the awards, or at least, you know, anything. You know what I'm saying? Have them a part of the show, and more people will be inclined to tune in.
I think so. Although I actually, it is funny because I do think this was probably one of the more viewed Game Awards, considering it not being as liked. To a degree, the celebrity thing did, whether it was good press or bad press, put a lot of press on the show.
See, I'm not so sure if it was that, Sean, because we'll get to it in a minute. But go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, honestly, I was gonna say I just think viewership in general for online shows and online content has been higher since the pandemic, since people don't have as many other options in terms of entertainment because they can't leave their houses as much.
Exactly.
So that's something I think. I mean, I think we'd have to wait and see for a future Game Awards with potential Hollywood inclusion to see if that's a trend and the viewership continues to rise. Because this year's an outlier for a lot of different things.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think, Sean, the thing though about the Game Awards, right? And this is a big thing that we're gonna get to in length here, is that I think the part of the problem is actually because Jeff Keighley was so involved with E3 and he knows how big announcements are and like big, like, you know, the world premiere that they do. He's thrown that concept into the Game Awards, which isn't inherently bad, but when your show is like over, right? I mean, that had to be like over 50% of the show being trailers, right? I mean, I don't know what it's broken down to, but it had to be really high, right?
It was mostly trailers.
Yeah, mostly trailers. And
I would say closer to 75%.
Yeah, I would probably say that too. And it's become a problem because he's making this like a pre-E3 show, and it's not. Like, it's supposed to be about the Game Awards. And if you listen to any discussion that talks about the Game Awards, they'll do like a preview of the awards, and then they'll go through the nominations and pick their favorite. But then if you noticed, when they actually talk about the Game Awards recap, they don't talk about the awards. They talk about the games that got revealed. And that's so backwards because this is supposed to be the Game Awards.
It was funny. A lot of the things I was most excited for about this Game Awards were either the games or whatever other things they revealed. And the reward, maybe it's because I never watched none of the Game Awards before. I don't know how the other ones were. But whenever they announced a winner, and it was just like that like fake audience clap of like two people, it just felt really awkward. I don't know if maybe it's because there was no studio audience and it wasn't allowed, or if the people presenting it were a little. I don't know what the problem was, but it felt odd whenever they presented it.
Honestly, it's always kind of been a little bit of an awkward show.
I was gonna say, yeah.
And I think just talking about how you mentioned the thing you were most excited about was the game reveals. I think that kind of goes to a point that we wanted to discuss, how this is basically like E3 light, you know? It's just like a pre-E3 show where people just reveal games. And I go out remembering what was announced, but not remembering what won the awards. Like,
right.
I leave the Game Awards not thinking anything about the actual awards. Like, imagine if the Grammys or the Oscars had a bunch of movie trailers and they announced a bunch of films, and then that was the main focus of the show. It's basically what happens with the Game Awards. And that's not what an award show is supposed to be. Like, this is basically just like a pre-E3 show in which they talk about games and they reveal games. Like, I know, just this is very anecdotal, but my brother, he specifically watches the Game Awards to see if there's a Smash reveal, and he tunes out. And there happened to be a really exciting one with Sephiroth, which a lot of people really were excited about, which is cool. And I think that's cool too. But that doesn't necessarily mean that should be the focus of the Game Awards, you know? If they want it to be a legitimate show that people actually care about in terms of the awards, then they should focus on the awards. But I don't really think that's their focus in many ways.
No, it's not. And Jeremy, and Sean, I asked you guys this before we started recording, right? I said, let's go back to, and even 3 years from when the Game Awards started becoming this huge, like big project from Jeff Keighley, right? And I said, can you think of any of the nominations from any nomination at all, and from game nominations to like the actual nomination itself, like, you know, best indie game or whatever. And we couldn't think of any. But then when we started thinking about the reveals, we immediately think, oh, Breath of the Wild DLC trailer, Joker, Persona, Joker from Persona 5, and Bayonetta 3. We should not be thinking about the trailers being revealed in the Game Awards. We should be remembering, oh, that indie game was great. That was, you know, that one best indie game from, you know, 2018. Or, oh, this game was, you know, the best ongoing game from 2019. None of that it sticks with us. It's always about the game reveal, and that's supposed to be for like a Nintendo Direct or an E3. Like, the awards themselves are being shafted here. That's just bad. That's just bad.
So here's something funny along that same line of not remembering anything from the Game Awards. My favorite part of the Game Awards was actually nothing to do with the game, really. Well, not nothing to do with the game, but my favorite part was the Arc mini TV series that they're gonna be doing, the animated one. That's the thing I'm most excited for. Let's go, Vin Diesel.
And it's the funny thing is that it's nothing to do with video games, and that's the thing about it.
Right.
So
I mean,
funny.
it is based off a video game, but it's like nothing.
Well,
it's
no, I
not a
know.
video
But,
game,
like,
but
yeah, I know it's based on a video game, but yeah, my point was like, it's not even the game, you know?
Yeah, it's not, right. Like, it's like, okay, it's cool that Tom Holland, like, I understand why Tom Holland was there, because he's going to be playing Nathan Drake. But again, this is not an advertisement for the movie. It's supposed to be like, and Uncharted wasn't even here, so why was he there? You know,
that's
like,
a good point.
You know, Uncharted wasn't even nominated. Like, and one of the things I really want to say though is, like, if you have a celebrity and you do it right, that's cool, right? Because if like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 came at what it won the best sports game this year, right?
It did, yeah.
And if Tony Hawk came rolling out on a skateboard to get the award, I think everybody would be like, you know what, like, that's pretty badass. That's funny. Like, no one would have a problem with that. But because you have guys like Christopher Nolan who know nothing, who probably even haven't picked up a controller since, like, you know, 20 years ago in the arcades, right? I'm just guessing. We don't know. But he's not associated with the game industry. Since he's voting but I don't know if he's voting, but he's at least reading the nomination for Game of the Year. Like, bring a guy who knows these games, who's played these games, who's passionate about these games, instead of a guy who's getting paid like $1 million to read like a minute script. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see what the point is for that?
Yeah, I think you have a good point. Like, I feel like there needs to be some sort of integration with the celebrity cameos and the actual show. I feel like if you don't have an actual purpose for those people being there besides them being there, like Sean, you pointed out, Stephen A. Smith was like, I bet you're wondering why I'm even here. It's like, yeah, I am, because like there's no relationship between you and what you're announcing. Like, there's no thematic, like, there's no theme here. It's just like random people who are like, I'll do the Game Awards. I'm not doing anything tonight.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
that's real. I'll take money. Yeah, exactly. It's. But if you had celebrities, if Tom Holland was there because something happened with Nathan Drake and Uncharted, then that would make sense. You know, like, oh, he's playing Nathan Drake in the movie. Okay, and they're announcing something for Uncharted. But they didn't, you know, like, if there was like some sort of thematic cohesion here, I feel like it would make a lot more sense. But, you know, there's not.
Yeah, no, he'd make, like, even the cameos I was okay with. It was like, but it's still a stretch.
Yeah,
it is.
That's the way.
There's just so many people who contribute to the gaming industry. Hell, even like they could have brought on way more like voice actors or like, you know, people like that, like, in addition to content creators that actually really contribute and stuff. And again, like Brie Larson, I know she's in Nintendo commercials, she's in ads, and she's a big Animal Crossing fan. But for her to present like best performance, like
Well,
should
she
she
is an
be?
actor.
But should she present like best family game? Like you know what I'm saying? Like use them correctly because if she's in commercial, like I don't know. I just feel like if you have these lists of celebrities, you should also use them correctly for what they're used for instead of just throwing them out and like, here you go, like celebrity, they're going to be announcing this, this award. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me.
Like you brought up how she likes Animal Crossing, and it's cool that she has openly said that she likes Animal Crossing. So if they had some sort of expansion announcement for Animal Crossing or something and she were to announce it, or if Animal Crossing had won some sort of award, that would have made sense. But as it stands, it's just like, oh, she's a celebrity who kind of likes games, so we're gonna have her here.
Right. Right, absolutely.
I feel like it kind of makes sense because she's known to like games and
No,
play
I have
them,
no problem.
and then she's doing the reveal for the actor portion.
Yeah, no,
that one kind of is like already a mix between the acting world and the gaming world. So for me, that one actually was the most like on brand one.
Yeah, to be honest, I just since that was just the one that was on topic, I actually had like some of the least problems with that one. But I just happened to be talking about it as if like that could have been. But yeah, I feel like that one was more connected than several others. But
But shouldn't we bring on like video game voice actors for that, Sean, instead of her? Like anybody, any like a video game voice actor for best performance?
Yeah, I mean but I mean, like, if you're running the show and you have a choice to get Brie Larson or, I mean, voice actors typically aren't really known that much.
Like, they got Nolan North there who voices Nathan Drake. That was cool.
Nolan North voices so many people.
Yeah, like that. Like, at least they got him. Like,
Yeah.
That was cool. But I don't know. I just feel like I agree like what you're saying. Like I understand it, but at the same time, it's just like, well, I don't know. It still just kind of sucks because I would much rather see a content creator who actually contributes because they make the gaming industry, right? Like I know the developers obviously like create the stuff, but the content creators and streamers and stuff, they're out there like making the game industry popular, cool. Like it's making more revenue than the movie industry by a long shot now. So like, shouldn't you get those guys incorporated?
Well, you should if you're thinking about.
And I know we keep bringing that up, but I just feel like it's really important.
It is.
Announced the voice acting one.
They should have. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
You never know.
And the thing too, like another point that I want to make on how to improve the Game Awards is the format. And again, I know the format of this show was a little strange, obviously, because of the times we're living in. But in a perfect normal world, hopefully we get there for next year's Game Awards. The pre-show and the main show looked exactly the same. There was no difference, like in terms of like the way it was presented. Because like I didn't realize at first like there wasn't even gonna be a I was even watching the pre-show until like they said now for the actual Game Awards. It's like, oh, okay, like
that's what I was watching.
That was the pre-show. Yeah, so I had no clue because normally like for these awards that either are more obscure or maybe they have a more like segmented audience, they'll have a pre-show like outside with the red carpet and they'll interview people and they'll bring those people on who either won the award or participated in the movie or the song, whatever, right? Just an example of the other famous award shows, and they'll bring them on and then they'll discuss it in the pre-show. And then the main show, they'll have like the actual like main awards, the mainstream awards that like your average person's gonna care about. I feel like that approach would make more sense than then it's like, oh, by the way, we're gonna just run through all the esports categories in like 30 seconds and quickly clap like when they said League of Legends win. Yeah, League of Legends. Okay, and now let's go to the next esports. And League of Legends wins again. Yeah, League of Legends. Now let's go to the best player. They go through them too quickly for you to even process what was even happening.
That is a really good point. I didn't realize it, but I did have an issue with that where just like make an edit afterwards of the game and the highlights of the game, or the players do like a little more for the award section instead of jumping straight into like, all right, here's the award. All right, now here's some ads that are gonna pay the bills. Like, make it more about the awards is essentially the argument there, but
Yeah,
just
I feel like
awkwardly run through them.
that seems like a logical approach too. Like make your award show more about the awards. But unfortunately, I think
It's
you
just
know,
very basic, but it's true.
yeah, you'd think like it should be the most basic idea about any award show should be I should focus on the awards. But
Another funny thing that happened was at the very beginning of the show is like she does like 5 different awards right away, like you said right off the bat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yep.
and then she was like, only 5 down, we have so many to go. And it's just like basically saying like we have so many awards to give out, and I was like, oh damn, they're gonna fill up. They already did 5 awards out of so many, and there's 3.5 hours left. Damn, must be a lot of awards. And then 3.5 hours later, I'm like, oh wow, that was a lot of ads. I mean, they were game trailers, so they were fun to watch ads, but it was not a lot of awards.
yeah, it's
Well,
almost like
And
you could have dispersed those awards a little bit better. It's almost like you really just wanted to get them over with and then pay your bills.
because here's the deal, right? Is like, first of all, we're gonna get to this in a minute, but point number 4 for me is the Game Awards is too freaking long, and we'll get to that in a second.
3
That's literally
hours is
that's literally
so
one of my
long
risks.
for
It's like
3 hours and 35 minutes.
ridiculous.
Oh,
Okay,
very good point.
what they need to do, in my opinion, is do what they do for. And again, I'm not saying the mainstream award shows are perfect, but let's be real here. They've been doing those for like literally like decades upon decades. So like, there's a format and a structure that clearly works. That has gotten people to pay attention over the years, right? And I think it's more of like, in terms of the viewership drop off for like the Grammys and stuff, I feel like it's more towards like the actual content that's being produced, and the nominations, but that's besides the point. The format itself, I feel like if they're going to have all these awards, have a pre-show with like a red carpet or something like this big event, and you can, instead of just worrying about like hitting all these awards like super quickly, you can have this long pre-game, pre-show, because that's how long the Grammy pre-game, I keep saying pre-game, but like that the Grammy pre-show and the Emmys pre-show, those are like hours long, and it doesn't have to be short, because it's again, it's a pre-show. It's like getting people excited. You can tune in throughout the day, like whatever. It's a fun event, a warm-up. And then the actual show, there's a format. Like, here are the mainstream awards that people care about, and we'll tell stories about how the movie was made, interviews with the people who made the movie. That's what we want to see, right? We want to see that. And I understand the game trailers themselves are definitely cool and appealing. I just don't necessarily think that they. First of all, again, we keep saying what felt like at least 75% of your award show is freaking trailers. If you're depending on trailers for your viewership for this award show, then you got to rethink about the purpose of your actual awards. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got the awards are not weighted enough that they actually matter, and that's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, that's like if movie theaters expected to fill seats strictly with previews. Like they didn't actually play a movie after the previews. They're just like, all right, you're paying money and you're sitting down and watching these previews, Like there has to be some sort of payoff besides just the ads.
Another vague example, not vague example, unrelated example. It's like you go watch the Oscars and the whole entire time is just movie trailers. I mean, you're there for the Oscars. It's like, sure, I do like watching movie trailers, but if a whole entire thing was just movie trailers, it would get a little bit old. I started skipping through a lot of the game trailers towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what sucks too is because the Game Awards, they do some things right, like their live orchestra and stuff like that. Like, that's cool. We want to see more of that because that's what other shows do. Like, they'll do like a live musical performance of like a song that got nominated. Like, having live music performance for like best, a game that won best soundtrack, and have the audience like listen to the live orchestra for that is super cool. We don't need to see all these trailers. And matter of fact, from what I heard, floating around online and from other discussions, specifically Good Vibes Gaming was talking about this, that Nintendo apparently they normally, when they have an announcement for the Game Awards, they'll put it like towards the end or somewhat in the middle. With this one, because they had a feeling that this one would be super long. Like, they saw the runtime on this thing with all the announcements and stuff. Nintendo was just like, oh man, viewership's gonna drop off like crazy if we put this like towards the end or towards the middle. Apparently, again, these are just the rumors, but the rumors and thought process was that Nintendo basically went to Jeff Keighley and said, look, people want to see the Sephiroth announcement. They're gonna lose their minds over this. Okay, we want people to talk about this. It's got to go in the front, or it's not going at all. And I think Jeff Keighley was backed into a corner, and he was just like, all right, we know viewership's going to drop after this. And I think Sean or Jeremy, one of you guys, I think, mentioned it before we started recording, that was the case, that like viewership actually did drop off after that announcement. Because it's true. Because people saw, all right, Smash announcement. When's it's coming? Okay, there it is. That's all I care about. Good night. And they tune out. Like that's like, if Nintendo's saying that, then that's a real freaking problem.
Yeah. If Nintendo and any other company for that matter is saying, yeah, your show's too long and it's going to get boring towards the end because it's mostly just going to be the same stuff. So we're not doing your show unless if you let us be right in the beginning, then, that's obviously a problem for your show.
Saw a tweet too. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it's like, as soon as the Smash character was announced, the stream lost this many viewers, and
It wouldn't surprise me.
yeah, I was like, that's probably true. And if it is, it's like, again, same problem. No one really cares about the Game Awards, and most of the audience is probably there for the game trailers.
Yeah, exactly. And what I don't understand is, in terms of this runtime, why do they feel like they need this to be a 3.5 hour show? You know what I'm saying? Like what warrants the content for anything like this to be 3.5 hours? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, I can watch like freaking the Super Bowl like almost twice the amount of time that the Game Awards is. You know what I'm saying? It's like Scott DeWaz said it best too, and this was just the most recent discussion I was listening about this. Scott DeWaz is like, I was sitting on my couch watching TV, and I felt exhausted at the end of it. You shouldn't be exhausted by watching TV, but I felt the same way too. Like, I tuned out halfway through this because I'm like, I really can't do this anymore. It's just like, it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like there's just so much stimuli coming at you because it's just like trailers aren't that long. So it's just like trailer, and you're just being like fed so much information in such a short period of time.
Yeah, information overload. That's a good one.
Yeah, so you're just kind of exhausted at the end. It's just like and if I get overloaded with information, I'm not necessarily even going to remember all the stuff that I saw. Like, granted, I remember the trailers more than I remember the awards, but that doesn't mean I remember all the trailers.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Thanks.
I think you just gotta take, like you were saying before, Justin, that other award shows obviously have figured out something, but just take an example of any other award show. You have build up, you have musical performances. I know one of my favorite parts of the Game Awards was the Mario medley.
Yes, that was freaking cool.
That was really cool. And I liked how there were performances sprinkled throughout the show. I think there should have been much more, personally.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I think we have to make the award epic, just like the Oscars. There's the drum roll. There's I know this specifically this year. I wouldn't blame them, but the audience in anticipation and the lack of noise, honestly, was what makes it really awkward. Maybe they just need to like throw in loud music, throw in a quick edit of the award or of the game they're talking about or the performance they're talking about or something. Just fill it up with noise and not awkward silences. Make it epic. Put some more like uh dramatic pauses or anticipation pauses in it. And that's a really good way to like just build up excitement and focus on the award itself. There's just so many little things that I think we're missing
So I
that
want
really
to, yeah,
impact.
no, going off that, Sean, I want to ask you this. How do you think we can make the awards themselves more legitimate? Because that's obviously the big problem, right? Is because when you win a Grammy, you win an Emmy, you're advertising the crap out of that, and you're saying,
Yeah.
we won this award. We're proud of it. It's like on a Spotify playlist. Like these are the Grammy Awards. Like they're showing it. You know who won. Like even like a casual person like me who's not really into movies and stuff like that, you'll hear about it. Like it was like, oh, this won Best Picture. Oh my God, I got to check this out. And that's what happens. And even for like lesser, not lesser awards, but the more obscure awards, you hear about that as well. How do you think we legitimize these awards and make them matter?
Well, I think that's a lot of that's up to the games and creators. They hold a lot of power over what's like considered, you know, cool or what actually matters. So if the companies decide to actually display the Game Award logo or the trophy or whatever symbol they want on their games, and if they promote the Game Award show, I think that would do a lot to legitimize it. So unfortunately, it's up to other people other than the Game Awards to make their show legit.
What do you think, Jeremy? I know it's a tricky question.
Yeah, it is a tricky question. I think, I don't know. I feel like games getting Game of the Year, I feel like it used to be a bigger deal than it is now, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like I used to remember what was Game of the Maybe it's just that I'm like losing touch with it, but just I feel like most people don't really necessarily care that much about Game of the Year anymore. Because wasn't it like Last of Us 2?
It was Last of Us 2,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like see the fact that I'm even doubting the fact that it was Last of Us 2 is kind of a problem. But I think people were just kind of like, yeah, whatever, Last of Us 2, I kind of expected that anyway, even though like it cuz Last of Us 2 kind of had mixed reviews and
Yeah.
some people
Pretty
really
mixed.
loved it. Yeah,
It was
some people really
beloved by
loved it.
critics, but not really liked amongst like actual fans.
Yeah. And I think, how do they even determine what Game of the Year is? I don't
That was my
even.
next
Well, I
question.
think that's the thing, right? It's like I don't even know. They're like because we know if you look it up. I mean, I don't know specifically, but you could look up the voting process for like the Grammys and Emmys. It's like a really rigorous process, and like there's like a lot of stuff you have to do to actually vote and determine what's the movie, and like it's really crazy if you guys look it up. I looked it up actually like a while ago
Hmm.
with another conversation with someone, but there's no criteria that's like out in the open. It's just like here's a bunch of guys who are voting on this, and a lot of them are like executives from like Xbox and
Mhm, mhm.
PlayStation and like EA. So like, how is there a bias? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there could be an easel bias right there. We don't know. Like, and the
Yeah.
other problem too, I think, is because there's all these other like the gaming sites that have their own game of the year that it kind of like devalues the game of the year for the game awards. and there's no like universal standard like this, like for movies, like this is best picture of the year. Obviously it's subjective, but everybody will say like what won best picture in 2018 in the eyes of the critics. For games, it's like IGN's Game of the Year award. Then you have like GameSpot's Game of the Year award. Then you have individual YouTubers like Game Explain, Good Vibes Gaming, all these places that have their own Game of the Year, like quote unquote awards and winners. So there's no universal standard, and I feel like that's kind of the problem. Where if like we got people representing the game industry to be at the Game Awards and say yes, like obviously it's subjective, and you all can still do your thing at IGN and individual places, but at the end of the day, the universal standard that a company can advertise and say that they are Game of the Year is the Game Awards, and we as a collective body vote on it and determine that to be a case. I feel like there needs to be something like that, which it lacks
totally
right
agree.
now.
Yeah, I feel like if there was some sort of accredited voting board where people had some sort of credentials and had some sort of legitimacy in terms of coming together as a committee and making a decision on what Game of the Year is, I think, and there maybe if there was more transparency about like who these people are who are voting for it, rather than it just being like some executives that honestly, like, I have no idea who they are, you
Right.
know? I feel like if there was some sort of way that it could be transparent for the audience, and maybe even like what they could do is they could kind of collectivize it and they can centralize Game of the Year to be from one source. Maybe they could like reach out to IGN, reach out to GameSpot, reach out to all these different sources who come up with Game of the Year, and then they could make like a universal voting board for Game of the Year based on all these different sources.
That's a
Like
good
maybe,
idea.
yeah, like so maybe one source says, "Oh, I think this game," and then one source says, "Oh, I think this game." Everybody comes together and gives their opinion, and then whichever game gets the most votes ends up as Game of the Year.
Right. It
Yep.
should be that like IGN's Game of the Year or what other place wants to make a Game of the Year should all match to legitimize the fact that one game might be Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah, there should be representatives from each outlet or representatives from each like relevant platform. Maybe that have some sort of say in what Game of the Year is, and then like that way it's not like, oh well, IGN's Game of the Year in 2019 was this, and the Game Awards had this one, and now 2020 they have this one and this one. Like you shouldn't have to know what everybody said. It should just be generally pretty agreed upon. But yeah,
I think The Last of Us 2 winning Game of the Year was a really bad idea. Just because how can a
Yes.
game
Yes.
I mean, this is coming from a person who hasn't played either of them, so really doesn't have an opinion on it, but how can a game that is controversial to like a good majority doesn't like the game and a good majority does? I want to say it's like either 60-40 split or 50-50, but if it's split at all, how can it be Game of the Year? It has to be a game that's more universally agreed is a good game, right? Like that makes sense to me.
I agree.
yeah, I agree.
I think it left a lot of people like they're out of touch, whatever. I think that hurt their brand a lot.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
me personally, even though it's not my Game of the Year, I personally feel like Animal Crossing should have won Game of the Year. And the reason why is because it got so many people into video games that never played games before, and most people recognize like, yes, this game was it was defined for the year, and honestly, it came out at the right time, and it was something we all needed. And I don't think there really wouldn't be like a major controversy about it that Last of Us 2 had, because Last of Us 2, like the thing about Animal Crossing was the critics liked it and the fans like it.
That's
If
true.
you have
It's
Last
just
of Us
universally
2,
loved.
the critics like it, but a lot of fans don't like it. It's a very divisive game. You wouldn't have that problem with Animal Crossing, I don't think.
You know what I found weird too? What's Ellie and what's the other girl's name in Last of Us 2?
Oh, I forgot.
I
I haven't played either one, so I forgot.
I knew at some point. I don't now,
I
but
just heard it, but I forget. Let's call her Barbara.
All
Okay.
right.
So
Ellie and
and,
Barb.
and that'd be funny if that's actually her name, but
Yeah,
I'm
I
honestly
don't know.
not sure.
I don't know.
But
I think it starts with an A.
the two characters in that the beginning of the show, they're like, oh, and the fans voted on what team you're on, Team Ellie or Team Barb, and Team Ellie won. And I'm like, wait a minute, of course Team Ellie won. The
It's
other
Abby.
character,
Abby's the girl.
Abby, okay,
Abby,
Abby was
yes,
like,
it. Yeah.
Abby was the villain that they tried to like, sympathize with, but she was ultimately like the bad character of the story. So
Well,
who's actually like voting for Abby? And then they did a whole bunch of another couple things about the Ellie and Abby, who's better. And I'm like, I thought everybody hated Abby. Like I didn't hear a single person that was like, oh, I totally get where Abby's coming from.
I know
I don't
Dreamcast
know.
guy did.
Did he? Okay, so
Yeah,
maybe this is just
Dreamcast
a
guy
fault
hated.
of my own. Oh, hated
yeah,
Abby or
I
Hated,
think
hated. Yeah, he hated.
oh yeah.
from what I know about the story, um, which is not much, I won't lie. I may or may not be on the Wikipedia right now to try and familiarize myself with
I
exactly
know,
what happened.
I know a
But
decent amount. I know Abby
yeah,
killed Joel, and the rest
yeah,
of the game you play, or half the game you play is her, and like to kind of try to like redeem her character, as in
Yes.
like make her. But in the story, she does like horrible, gruesome things to a lot of people.
Yeah,
So
and
every
people
time
hate
yeah,
they,
playing as that, right?
yeah, and every time they try to like redeem her character with like this is why she does stuff. It's just like it's not enough for the horrible things she does. So despite trying to empathize with her, people didn't like the character just because how evil she was, or they at least I couldn't empathize with her. And the fact that they were like doing this weird Ellie Abby, whose team are you on? I'm like, what? What? I did not get that impression that people would be into Abby's story at all. It was weird. It seemed a little bit forceful.
yeah.
Yep.
Another reason why it feels like they're slightly out of touch.
To be fair, though, I think part of this coming from the critics' perspective, where they were all like praising the way Abby's character was written. So
Again, I don't have like, I didn't play the games obviously, and I can't, really judge it, but it's hard to redeem a character that just like does awful things for the sake of being awful. Just as like a developing a character standpoint,
Yeah,
it's
and it
hard
clearly
to
no,
showed
you're
because
right.
a lot of people, a lot of people didn't like that in the game. I know, like again, guys like Dreamcast guy when they reviewed the game, they were not happy with that decision for the story.
Yeah.
Other things though about the Game Awards as we start wrapping this up, in terms of like the actual presentation of the show. How do you guys feel like that is? Do you feel like Jeff Keighley's a good host? I mean, and they had the other, I forgot her name, but there was that other host they had the two hosts. It was Jeff Keighley and the other person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember her name. Do you feel like they did a good job?
I think they did a good job for what they had. It was
Yeah, I
funny
agree.
how whenever the spotlight was on, Jeff, his shoes just like lit up because they were bright. Everything
Yeah,
else was black, and his shoes were
his
white and blue.
shoes, yeah.
It was funny, like entertaining. But the
They
set was
were
actually
nice
cool.
shoes.
The monitors in the background displaying stuff was nice. It was a good
Yeah,
set.
yeah.
It lacked audience, I think.
Jeremy, what'd you think? Good
I pretty much
presentation?
I think it was okay. I mean, like overall, they usually have a relatively good production value. It's just that the production itself isn't that interesting. Um, that's usually my general thoughts. But you know, I like Jeff Shoes.
Yeah, Jeff Shoes definitely was the best part of the show, I think. They were definitely stand out.
I remember them more than I remember the awards, so there's that,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was like I said, I thought it was a pretty good presentation. I thought they did a pretty good job, but again, Jeff Keighley like lighting up when he gets to announce a Hollywood celebrity versus when he actually talked about the Game Award was definitely noticeable.
Yeah, you need some more energy for the Game Awards.
Yeah, and Jeff Keighley, he's super passionate about what he does. He's definitely again Really, really like what he's doing here in terms of like trying to push the game industry to be this big event, and it should be because it's such this. It is a huge market, and it makes more money than so many other industries in entertainment, like the movie industry now, and that's totally understandable. But at the same time, it's like, we don't we're our own thing. We don't need the Hollywood guys. You know what I'm saying? We already established ourselves. Like, it's not like we're some like grassroots like organization like trying to like be on the back burner or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're already established. We're already here. We don't need them. So I feel like if Jeff just focuses on his own thing, improve the show, improve the format, and make the awards legitimate, make the awards more legitimate and mean something, it's going to go a long way, and it's going to be a lot better show.
Yeah.
All in all, I'm rooting for him.
I am too.
I'm rooting for it too.
I am too.
I just think I think a lot of it goes back to kind of an old fixation of people to try and be like people from the internet trying to be like TV, And now like I feel like for a long time internet creators and they just wanted to be like people on television. They wanted to have the legitimacy of television. But now, like the age that we live in now, the internet's significantly more influential than television, and it probably will always be that way now. So I don't necessarily understand why people still have any focus on that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't understand it either. It's its own thing, and it's already huge. So why do we need those guys?
We don't.
We don't. We really don't. So yeah. So as we wrap this up, any quick final thoughts here, or we pretty much good to go? I think we pretty much hit anything.
My final thought is basically I hope the award show continues, and I hope that it improves upon any potential mistakes that they note from past experiences.
Sean?
Very similar. Just I'm looking forward to improvement next year. Honestly, between all the criticism, I think they could do a pretty good job next year if they, listen to the criticism.
I think so too, and hopefully, fingers crossed, next year, we'll be able to have that huge live studio audience again, and really have like a all out event, and that would be awesome. We're all rooting for that to happen, and hopefully it does. And hopefully, if they're able to do something like that, we can get this epic long pregame show of just, like this red carpet, and actually bring people out and do some stuff. Man, it'd be great. So we'll see though. We'll see. But bottom line, Jeff Keighley, keep doing what you're doing, but listen to the criticism, please, because the show could be so much better than just announcement trailers 2.0. You know what I'm saying? We have Nintendo Directs, we have Sony Directs. Let's focus on the awards, man. Focus on the awards. So that's gonna do it for us here. We'll see you guys on the next episode, and thanks for tuning in for a discussion on the Game Awards. Later, folks.
Bye friends.